Hello, it's Nikki. How you doing? I'm sorry you can hear the rain chucking it down here in London. This is not Maytime weather that I would like. Today I want to talk about some numbers, and it's all been part of, I guess, the reflections that I've been doing as I build my personal brand, as I build my business, and the things that I've been noticing over the last 5 years, I guess. And over the last 5 years, I've had 2 children. And if anybody knows who's had small children, or if they've had to be in a caring capacity, it's not necessarily as straightforward as your business looks a certain way year on year, because I know with my 2 pregnancies, I was really ill. So there were definitely, in the last 5 years, at least 6-8 months, and that was just in the pregnancy between the both of them, that I just lost because I wasn't focusing on building my brand. I wasn't focusing on building my business. I was focusing on finding kettle chips and trying to keep food down. But today I want to share on my trusty piece of paper some of my podcast stats. And my podcast has been running since January 2018. And regardless of whether you have a podcast or not and you're watching this, hi Ryan, I wanted to talk about the accumulation of things. So when I started my podcast in January 2018, I had no followers, as in no subscribers to the podcast. It was brand new. And that was quite daunting, and it was a big moment, I guess, to go, right, I'm going to go live with this and see what happens. So I started in January 2018, and today is May 2021. This you know. So today I've logged into my stats, and I can't give you the exact number because my computer's in the other room, but I am about 151 downloads, I think, 151,000 downloads, and that has taken me nearly 3.5 years to get to. But I noticed, based on my figures here, what that growth has been look like. So January 2018, I had nothing going on. I got my first 50,000 downloads in 17 months. So I reached that stat in May 2019. I then had my daughter in August 2019. So things definitely went a little bit AWOL for a couple of months. But regardless, I then hit my next 50,000. So 100,000 downloads total in July 2020. And then today, I've checked, May 2021, over 150,000 downloads. And that final jump has gone from 14 months to 10 months. So year on year, and I know there is this accumulation, because now what people can do is, and I know this because I'm a stat geek, I now know that people will go back and revisit other episodes. So I've noticed that in terms of the trends of if somebody listens to something, and I've really learned how to, I guess, support people in a way that, I know that my listener, my viewer, whatever, quite likes those mini series. So I started with the podcast, and I had loads of interviews going on, and I've got loads more to share. I'm really excited to do that. But also I know that my listener sometimes needs like some quick and snappy stuff. Like this morning I went on a run. I only had 20 minutes before the school run and doing everything else, and I listened to an podcast, not mine, somebody else's, that was 19 minutes long, and that was perfect because by the time I came back and I could get showered and ready and all the rest of it, I felt like I'd done a good run. I'm saying good, but I'm no athlete, clearly. But like I'd done a good run, and also I'd really got some good takeaways. But my reason that I wanted to talk about this is that sometimes there is the assumption, because everybody talks about the 5-year plans, like it's going to take you 5 years to do X, Y, and Z, and you've got to be at something, or the 10,000 hours, and there's all these sort of books around it. And I firstly want to open up the opportunity that actually it might take less time than you think. And in other areas, it may take more time. And certainly if I'm going back to what my last 5 years has been for me, of having 2 children and things like that, sometimes there have been moments where my life has needed me more than the growth of my business. And that's okay. And I really realized, especially after COVID and these last few years of figuring things out, hi Tahira, and really figuring things out, this pressure to be somewhere so quickly. So these snappy headlines of like, I did this, I grew a business in 2 weeks, I was nothing and now I'm this. And sometimes these things take a little bit longer. But equally, if you are building strong foundations each and every day, so like the stats that I gave you with the podcast, I have given myself that time and that space to build those really solid foundations. So now when I put a podcast out there, I feel confident that I've built a body of work. And so these numbers, or this data analysis, I can't even believe that I'm talking about this with you, but this data analysis, it in a way, lean into what the next step is, and lean into, okay, what's the next level of Candy Crush? Let's make it into a game. What's the next level of your business? So instead of going, oh my goodness, I'm not a 6-figure business owner yet, or I haven't done a 7-figure launch, or any of the internet marketing stuff that you hear, thinking about how you can start to put those consistent things in place, I guess. So certainly when I was thinking about growing the podcast, I had to get really geeky with myself and had to get like, okay, what am I doing with this? How am I going to support myself in order to make this consistent? Because when I started this in January 2018, I saw a lot of people doing the same thing. And a lot of people have been and gone, because actually it's quite a lot of work sometimes. It's not necessarily for me now, because I found my rhythm and I've taken that pressure off myself doing all of the things. But I basically want to say, to summarize, to round this up, is if you have a goal, if you have an idea or a project or something that you need to do, I urge you to stick to your own, firstly, circumstances, capabilities. I've told this story so many times on the podcast, but when my eldest was about 6 months old, I wanted a business coach because I was getting lots of inquiries and I was really time poor at the time. And I was just like, I just needed a bit of outside perspective, I guess, for somebody to go, right, this is what you need to do, or this would be a really effective way, because again, we don't know the things that we know until we know them, and I really had to pay attention to my own circumstances at that time. And I know certainly there are people, clients of mine, people in my community, that they're like, I just can't go that fast at the moment because I need to, whether it's like I need to batch cook for my parent who is ill at the moment and do a 2.5 hour drive every week there and back to sort all that out. Life is bringing up different challenges. But what I want to say is, get really clear on the vision of what you want to have. So actually, statistics weren't necessarily something that were pulling me forward, and I didn't have this, oh my goodness, I've got to have this number of downloads. But what I did want to do was, one of my goals was to grow week on week. So I didn't want to feel that it was something that was going really well for a couple of weeks and then I just forget all about it. But again, life sometimes got in the way and I had to pause, and I had to, other things took priority as well. Okie doke, those are my little thoughts for today. I hope it's been useful. If you have any questions around podcasting or launching anything, or if you want to be a speaker, you can find some details down below as well. But basically, the timescale is your decision. You can do what you need to do, and it's exciting. And also, if you don't get, I think in the first year, I what's the word that I'm saying? I professed to the internet I would like to get 1 million downloads in that first year. That didn't happen, and it still hasn't happened 3.5 years later. But that's all right. That's all right. It's coming. All right. Have a lovely day, whatever you're doing, and I'm sending lots of love.